Hey, what's up, guys? I haven't done a video in forever, but I've been really excited about Yajirobe, and so I know we're still in the preview phase at this time as we're doing this video here, but this is the current previews of him that I'm going to kind of go through real quick, and I have a couple different ideas with him. I'm just going to give a quick deck list that I made real quick for one of the ideas. Maybe get some juice going. Maybe I just spoiled somebody's secret sauce by posting something publicly, but without further ado, we're gonna just hop right into his MP stack here. We have Yajirobe Ronin. So the whole gimmick with him, as I remember way back when David Fastbinder had mentioned that they were going to let Yajirobe use any styles sword cards in deck construction. So this, of course, is kind of a Pandora's box in terms of design. It really limits how strong you can make Yajirobe. Kind of limits how strong you can make sword cards in the future. The more options and tools you give somebody, the more limiting it is for design in the future. But as of right now, I don't really see anything too busted. Uh, we can get into there are the biggest thing issues that I am seeing by letting him have any styled cards with sword and title in this deck is that there are multiple drills in the game that can grab these sword cards. Aggressive sword drill, blue sword master drill, and red sword slicing drill. Um, each one of these cards can grab you a sword card each turn if played properly. And so there's some debate whether or not orange Yajirobe might be, mostly orange Yajirobe might be busted. Red can also do some stuff with drills too. But ultimately, unless you can modify these sword attacks, they're not really doing much damage. Yajirobe and Deborah are very interesting because Deborah does a lot of flat stage damage between his named cards and like Devil's Sword Strike. A lot of his his AT is pretty good if you can stay up high in stages, but his AT falls off really hard. So Yajirobe is kind of in a similar boat. Um, if you're going to play Yajirobe for beats with the sword cards, you're going to need to be running him in deck with modifiers. Again, orange seems like a very good pick because they have all the drills that modify physical attacks and deal stage damage. So it's something to consider. Red Ruthless, I know people thought about, I'm sure, and we'll get to Red Ruthless. Why another reason why you'd want Red Ruthless in a moment, but Yajirobe, of course, as a constant, whenever you play a card with sword in the title, you gain a stage. Pretty mediocre. You're not going to be getting much out of that, but it's something I suppose. So it makes your dashing sword attack free essentially if you were to play that. Um, his power is raise your anger one, search your discard pile for card with sword title, shuffle it into your life deck. I mean, it's pretty weak. It's a pretty weak level one. The parenthetical effect is the best part about it. But the active power, at least giving you some anger, is really good. It helps you get off this level one. And again, you're in A the entire time. You have a low PUR. He's not a powerhouse off the bat. Deborah is still a premier sword MP in my mind. Even as we get to the higher levels of Yajirobe, his early game, he's one of the weakest MPs that wants to be physical aggro in the beginning of the game. Other MPs like 13, Broly, um, are some of those MPs that kind of take time to ramp versus like Deborah, Goku. They can go off really fast off the bat. Majin Vegeta, all those MPs have a lot quicker early game. Yajirobe is going to be really slow, so you're going to be trying to level with him quick. Giving anger level 1 gives you incentive to run anger cards. Most of the sword cards, not most of the sword cards, I should say, but about half the sword cards that you can run do give anger. So that's something to consider. I would have been neat to. Yeah, it would probably be busted if you had a constant that like similar to Deborah level 1 that gives you anger every time you like either play or hit a sword card. I like how he is though. It's the idea with his level 1 is it does help you. If you do get stuck on it, it does help kind of put those sword cards back in your deck, which is good for different reasons. If you have one of those drills I mentioned, you can put them back in the deck to search out with like Adept Mastery or with like Red Right Punch or whatever drills tutor you want to use. And he also does have access to energy attacks, which is which is nice. You might you don't want to get too hung up on the fact that you have to run sword cards and only physicals. So something to consider. Going forward, we have this level 2, again, low PUR. Whenever you play sword card, you get 2 stages. Doesn't really matter that much, but it's something. It'll help you out against physical matchups. It's better than getting one stage. It's really nothing too special. especially considering you're not getting big AT gains when you get 2 stages. We go to his power. This time his power is pretty good. It's rock hard draw, and lets you put 2 sword cards from your pile back into your life deck. So what's neat is it does proc. It does say rejuvenate, which kind of has some synergy with certain cards that want you to rejuvenate. Not that you would really want to run Red Leap, but Red Leap, something comes to mind. The red, I think, what is it? Red Left Blast. When you for next time a player rejuvenates, you get to draw a card. That card will do like literally no damage with Yajirobe, but it would be something that you could run with his level 2 here. But again, drawing a card is just always good. So again, with his level 1 giving anger, his level 2 being a rock hard draw, we know people with rock hard draw are always good in anger. We're talking about Goku, for example. We know is really good. So I mean, I immediately saw the level 1 and 2, and I was like, oh, okay, you know, sword cards give anger. He draws cards, level 1 gives anger. I'm like, I started thinking, before I even got to his other levels, I started thinking about anger with him as a potential. And then, of course, we get to the level 3. Level 3 is what kind of sold me in the deck idea that I'm about to show everybody when I'm done with this stack here. But the level 3, again, the PR is decent, nothing special. We get this, you get the silly little stage gain, and you get a pseudo ruthless mastery effect, or a ruthless mastery effect on your sword attacks. Really, the constant's nothing crazy. It's weak. I mean, again, you're innate the entire time, so unless you're getting modifiers, you're not doing anything with your sword attacks, and they have to hit to get that. So it's not a reliable means of anti-anger, but it is something. So again, for people wanting to do damage with him, orange is really looking like the one way to go, because orange can actually modify those wimpy sword cards up enough. But we get to the power part, and this is what's really interesting is, so he doesn't give any raw advantage on this level. Now level 1 and 2 give you actions, and so does 3, but 2 gives you an extra card in hand, so it directly gives you another action out of it. Whereas like level 1 gives you an anger for the most part. That's really all it's going to do. But level 3 is interesting because you trade a card from your hand to go grab a sword card with that styled sword card from your deck. And again, like if you were able to, you know, you're level 1, if you are cherry picking certain sword cards back in your deck, kind of helps keep this level 3 alive. And same with the level 2, putting sword cards back in your deck. So you're pretty much always going to have this a sword card in. So no matter what, if you draw dead, you can at least pitch that out of your hand to get a new card. It does give you a discard effect proc. Unfortunately, he doesn't have those on his level 1 and 2, which doesn't really give you an incentive to run discard effects, at least directly if in a deck that doesn't have it on its master already. So that's something to consider if you were to run him with a master with a discard effect. His level 3 is also there as a backup, for discard effect cards. But anyway, if you discard a card with sword when you did the search effect, you get 2 anger. So not a lot of characters have anger on level 3. Majority of characters in the game. I can't think of... Nail level 3 is one of the few level 3s that comes to mind that directly gives you anger, and this one can give you 2. And considering how many sword cards you're running, considering how much sword you're probably going to be running, and you can potentially run, this should always be at worst, it's a discard a card, discard 6 sword card, get another sword card, 2 anger. And this is huge because, again, like a lot of decks can get enough anger or slip enough anger early game to get to like their level 2. Sometimes they're level 3, but then a lot of times they'll stall on like 2 or 3. And with Yajirobe, drawing a card, just a raw draw, and 2, it at least gives you more actions to kind of extend the combat out to where you can draw more cards. You can maybe see a big anger card in your hand, depending on what you put in your deck. It gives more actions so that they have to really space out their anti-anger a certain way. Whereas like the level 3 immediately giving you 2 anger. Again, I'm seeing anger on level 1, seeing rock hard draw on level 2, and then seeing anger on 3. It was like, okay, I started thinking PPV, especially considering that the sword cards will not do a lot of damage unless you're orange, where they can, if they're styled, then you can give them like distracting drill, orange confidence, and orange grimace, making you AT4. So we'll get to his final level here, of course, level 4. This is pretty much the Android 13. It's pretty much a similar effect to Android 13, level 4, where you're getting this physical attack that can be kind of beefy, except this is better. This level is better than the Android 13 level 4 because you have more cards with Sword and Title than you do in Android currently. Not to mention that this level 4 sets itself up for the modifier. And it gives you a pretty nice +2/+2 modifier, which is really, really nice. It's a bummer that Yajirobe doesn't have this in any of his levels 1 through 3, especially like 2 or 3. If he had a modifier on his 2, I could argue that you could make like a blue dominance deck with him almost. Even then, the problem is that you're just not getting enough damage out with him because of the low AT, unlike Deborah, who can at least rock some pretty gnarly AT. And he has a pretty good split of like strong stage physicals and stuff. So, but this level 4 is really cool, and then this level 4 alone is a good reason why you'd maybe want to run Ruthless or Commanding, because you can set up your pile. Like when you advance to his level 4, you search your bank zone for all cards of sword and put them in your pile in any order. You've got to put them on top of the pile, but there's enough cards in like red, for example. Like red Smash can banish your entire discard pile. Red Reverse can like banish a bunch of your discard pile. I can't think of too many good cards off the top of my head other than those two that banish cards out of your discard pile. Those are really like the two best too. Like most consistent too, I would say. But when you hit this level 4, you can immediately like set up like a dashing sword attack or like a black sword attack or orange sword chop to top of your pile, and like copy them with Ruthless Mastery, or play them with Ruthless Mastery and get like a really cool effect from one of those cards. So that's one of the obvious strengths. Not to mention the fact that like you have this physical attack that does +1 for every sword card. So by the time you hit this level 4 in a game, you're probably going to at least be mid life deck most likely, and the longer the game goes on, the more like sword cards are going to be in your pile. Again, this is something that you want to hit like mid game, but this level 4 can be a finisher. There was recently a post by, I think, Risk Blankin. He put a post up and he said there was a possibility of up to 58 sword cards that you could run in a deck. And now, I'm not saying I would run 58 sword cards. That'd be terrible with what your options are. But a Sword Yajirobe deck that's able to get to this level 4 with Unleashed or Aura Clash or by Anger. And if you don't even necessarily need an All Digger Grave, but red, Ruthless again. Red has a red cover-up drill, which of course says all your physical attacks can't be prevented. You could get to this level 4, and red's got enough drill support where if you get to this level 4, you're running, let's say you're only running like 20 sword cards. I mean, this is a 25 stage attack, unpreventable. It's going to be an attack that your opponent has to, it's kind of like Maj Vegeta 4 in the sense that it's an attack that your opponent has to watch out for. You're going to have to block for it, and so it's something that you can play around with. Again, I think this level 4 is something you're probably only going to really hit in like red, orange, Anger, maybe, I guess, with the new mastery I could see. You could run him Unleashed in a non-red style, but I think red is the best Anger style for him, and I think it's the pretty good choice. I think as far as a gimmick deck goes, a level 4 Yajirobe sword gimmick deck, or sword level 4 backup, or even not even necessarily made lean plan deck, is probably best in Ruthless, or just red in general. Maybe not necessarily Ruthless, but for sure red in general, because red has a bunch of cards that grab the drills from any zones, so you can get more hand advantage. Not to mention they have the cover-up drill, making attacks unpreventable, and then you also have access to Trailing Blast with it, Yajirobe. And so you're going, with Ruthless Master Commanding, you're going to have, when you Unleash, you get that Trailing Blast back in your hand. So you get a +1 in your hand for playing Unleash, not to mention an extra level. And so you're going to be able to use that card, maybe pitch it on level 3, if you advance to level 3, or at worst case scenario, or use it for the Mastery copy, which you could, set up at level 4. Just multiple things to consider. Worst case scenario, it's all +1 in your hand is always good for multiple reasons. But those are some ideas with him. I've been really leaning heavily towards like red, and as you'll see when I bring up my deck list here, a deck list that I made here. It has to be Red Ascension. I decided I'd want to, it's always easy to make Red Ascension cheese with people, and I think he's going to be very interesting. And just because of how people can build him, again, you can build him beats. I think you can build him anger. You can build him kind of temp. I think he's kind of more mid tempo than just raw aggro. He needs some puzzle pieces on the board. He's got a lot of potential draws and actions, but he doesn't have a lot of damage unless you get set up. So again, orange seems like maybe the best beats way to win with him, unless you're going to try to bank on his level 4, which in the case of like red, between red giving a lot of anger with one of the anger masteries, or just using the attached targets are really good. Two of the cards I think the best sword cards for him are going to be Sword Skill and Sword Chop. And I'll explain why right now. No, Sword Skill is not going to be good in every Yaj deck. Red Shoulder Grab is going to be great in like a Beats, Yajirobe. Saint Sword Skill is not going to be good in a deck that's running Red Shoulder Grab, or in a deck that is doing like a lot of modifying on the orange Yajirobe. It's going to be modifying a lot of his damage. You're not going to see Sword Skill be good in those decks, but in the same premise, in my thinking is that like Rampaging Gohan, Rampaging Trunks, use and abuse Sword Skill, Yajirobe being A makes it really hard for him, even when he puts his opponent to 0 to crit. So your opponent can't even like situationally like allow you to crit if like a lot of your attacks are doing like 4 stages, especially like Sword Chop, Mule Kick. Mule Kick. We'll talk about this with Sword Card specifically. Sword Chop itself can't crit unless you get to like the level 4, but Sword Chop can go grab you Sword Skill. It can also grab you Red Retreat, so you can dip out of a combat. It can grab you. I'll show you my options, and this is just red alone. Again, there's every other style has got multiple good events that you can run. Black is the one that's really intriguing to me as far as what events you can go grab. But I have a handful of here. So again, I have Sword Skill. Ideally, we're just going to keep hitting a bunch of attacks and skips. They can't lower my anger, and then in combat, ideally. You have Red Retreat. Again, if you have Sword Skill on, it's even better because you land Sword Chop. You grab Red Retreat and they're skipped, and then you just Red Retreat out of combat. You got Red Antidote. I have this set of 2. It's conditional. There's a lot of decks that run attach cards. It is a anger gain if you kill those attach cards. It has endurance, so it's not the most dead in your deck, or even in your hands. It's not the worst thing in the world a lot of the time. And worst case scenario, you can just banish Sword Skills with it. I would like to run another attach card purely for the fact that I have it, but I'll try it out at 2. I think it's a good 2 of with how meta goes and stuff. A lot of Unleash decks always are around. Red Emergency. I have this at a 1. I want to try this out. This is a really neat card from set 2. Running it back in Enraged days was kind of neat. It now doesn't give any anger, but if you're able to get 2 anger when you use it, and you have 2 drills in the pile, you can put one of those drills back in your deck and play the other one, or place it to play the other one. And I do run a few drills here and there, and a lot of them are going to be kind of expendable. Like I don't care if they're actually out. Some of them just want to be bumped into play, and so being able to potentially throw Sword Chop to bump one of my drills into play could be very helpful. Once we get to the drill line, I'll kind of bring that up. I'll put this down actually. Well, we'll do it right now. I'll bring up those drills. But Aggressive Sword Drill, of course, going to be really good. Give me +1s when entering. But Red Emergency bumping in like a Red Attitude drill if I want to keep my anger protected. Sword Slicing or Sword Mastery drills to grab me a sword card. Or with actually Sword Mastery has the constant of lowering anger. But both of which give me another card. So giving me +1s there, more actions. A Swift Sword Drill, being able to like copy one of my anger sword attacks to give me some more anger. Extra actions is always good. Extra damage if I want it. Not that it really helps in this deck that we have it built, but we also have a Red Controlled Anger Drill. Again, this card can always bump into play, and then I could just like level or use it to help put cards back in my deck, keep me alive, so I can keep angering. Either way, all these cards, 2 of which give me +1s immediately when I put them into play in combat, and then of course 2 of the other ones having actions and protecting my anger, and etc. etc. So I figured it'd be a cool one to try out. I had a 1. You're not always gonna want it. You're only really gonna want it if you have 2 anger, but it's a conditional. And I figure if I see them on a pass, I'll just rejuvenate it, for late game. Then bop, land a sword chop, and I get one of those. Red Observation being the last event card I have in here. Again, just really good board tech. I have some like okay board hate in the deck with the list now, but I figured, hey, if I can sword chop into this card and just board wipe, it's a pretty gnarly combo, so why not? Let me run up with the other sword cards. I mean, I have Sword Stab, Sword Rush, and Sword Attack because they're all endurance sword cards with anger. Sword Attack is really, really nice for red. Red is board hate cards, like don't give any anger, or they don't have any good setup. None of their setup hate cards give anger, at least. Celestial Strike is like, I mean, I'd rather run this than Celestial Strike, and Red Energy Blast is a card I'm thinking I'd probably bounce back in here. It's kind of, there's this card that I'd tell you what I'd put in to put that back in, but for now I'm going to just try with Black Sword Attack as like my main card, considering I can loop this back in with my level 1 and 2 and search it out with my level 3. Something to consider. Okay, so we get to Red Meal Kick. This card's going to be super important. Again, Antidotes and Meal Kicks ensure that Wall Breaker will never bother me, and Attach Crits will never bother me. Never bother me. So, that's really what it's for. Freezing Beam is in here at 2, mainly because I need those drills in those zones for this card to be useful. And just because of chance, you're not going to want to see this card till like mid-game at the earliest, so at 2 is good, but being able to bounce those sword drills from anywhere in play to just give me another card in my hand, another +1, and then on top of it, or just grabbing like Controlled Anger Drill. Again, it's just, I want some drill play in this deck, so because it can't grab from, since you can only grab from pile or Banished Zone, it's just not good early, so I don't want to see it often, so 2 is good. I have Red Punch at 3. This card, at the worst, I Mastery and then lead into this, and I get 1 drill, and I get a +1 to my hand, or I get a +1 board. Either way, between the fact that I can 4 of my drills I can put back in my deck with my level 1 and 2, like this card's always going to be able to grab those out, so that's why it's a grade 3. And you want to see those cards; they're more advantage for you. The sooner you get like Aggressive Sword Drill out, the better. Red Driving Need a 1, mostly for space. Just going to try it out. It's a 2 anger card if it hits. Again, the space is kind of tight right now. I'm just trying out some cards. I'm trying the main package and seeing how it goes. And the cards that I'm really experimenting with are the event package. I think I might be placing a little bit too much importance and utility into the sword chop combo, but I wanted some options. Again, Emergency is probably the one I'd cut first, and then maybe Antidote, but Sword Skill and Retreat are so necessary. Let's see. Then I have Red Explosion, mostly experimental. With all the skipping I want to do with the deck, this card will never crit with my deck. I have no way to modify it to give it the +1 life card modifier. And at worst... At worst, again, it's going to skip, and I can just then combat. Just more ways to skip. That's what I'm looking for between Sword Skill and this. It's just like running Gut Kick in a Saiyan Rampage. The way I looked at this card is it's like running Gut Kick in a Saiyan Rampaging deck. It's just having the skips is good. I wanted to run it at 3, but 2 seemed like a decent number to try it out at. And then Red Stop. Again, this is another card I can grab with Sword Chop. Just so much utility on Sword Chop. This can grab me my sword cards, my drills. I think it's worth running. Having the Omni, being styled, being a card I can tutor. Though it doesn't give anger, it can always... it's just going to have some utility. So... Blocking Hand at 3, and same with Brace. These are like the 2 staple red anger blocks. Like you're gonna throw these in like every red anger deck. So I have Relaxation and Destiny at 3s. Again, big anchor on the Destiny helps me against stage beats, especially having them like lose a -2 on me when I'm in AL all the time is gonna be helpful. I actually thought about running Blazing Aura because of Sword Chop and because I'm in AL all the time, but for now I'm not gonna. Relaxation, of course, is just so good. Give me an out-of-combat crit, an extra card. So, and then we get to my drills again. Aggressive Sword Drill, Attitude Drill. Aggressive Sword Drill, gonna want it all the time if I can get it. Attitude Drill, it's just there to protect my anger. It'll give me some stages, which is kind of nice because I'm in AL all the time. Sword Slicing and Sword Mastery are just going to be tutoring sword cards. I believe Sword Mastery, you may search your discard pile, and then Slicing is discard pile. Yeah, they're both discard. Search your discard pile. Search your discard pile. So I don't. At one ofs, they're great because I'm not going to see them until I get a pile with sword cards in there, and my level 1 and 2 are going to be potentially cleaning out my pile. So one thing you're going to have to manage is not cleaning out your pile if you can access these cards. You want them to be able to give you +1s. Having them at one of, they're once for combat effects, so one of in your deck, especially in red where you can tutor them out of different zones. It's plenty. Swift Sword Drill is really good if I'm just trying to. Ideally, I'm going to be able to grab this card when I'm chaining Anger with sword skills and double up on like a sword stab or something, or a sword attack and just get extra board clear or something. Is just again like a conditional +1. So, and then a red controlled Anger Drill because it's really good. I'm not always going to be leveling. I can kill it with red retreat, worst case scenario for that combo. I can also grab it, or when at least plays extra anger, it's just going to be good. Cards that I wanted to try out maybe were Counter Kick, Red Energy Blast, Red Celestial Strike. I don't necessarily think I want to run this board hate cards yet until I see how much like board really bothers me. Red Shoulder Grab would be cool, but it goes against the theme of Red Sword Skill, so it's just another reason why I have cards like Tandem Attack in here and Antidote. Realistically, I could see this deck getting clumpy hands with like really weird amounts of anger. It's just like an MPPV deck. I say like isn't. It's definitely not pure MPPV in this card choices. There's like a lot of combo pieces. It's mostly like you're gonna maybe be able to keep your opponent's stages down so they can't beat you up too bad, and then you're just gonna keep trying to anger. I think it's a neat start. I think there's definitely cards to play with. Numbers could definitely be played with quite a bit. Maybe like 2 meal. Actually, I could do. Oh, excuse me, I'm really tired. I've had some long days at work, but I could see Meal Kick being a 2 of. I could see some like emergency going. Sphere at 3 is in here. Blinding, Ball 7 time. I didn't mention those cards, but those are all here just to end combat, hold out. Like Meal Kick could go to 2. I could see Right Punch maybe being a 2. I could see Explosion going or being a 3. Emergency going. Yeah, other than that. I don't think slapping every card with Sword in the title is the right way to play him. But I think a deck built around Sword skill with him and Anger could definitely be really strong. And just having some options for when you can't end combat. Just being able to do some long combats when you want to and it's safe with all the comboing. With every one of those cards that you're grabbing giving you some more anger could be really good. So this is just one option. Again, there's other things I talked about. I'm going to wait for release to do another video on him, especially. He's somebody I'm super interested in, though. And I probably shouldn't be doing videos while we're still in preview season, but I was just super stoked about him when I read his powers, and I was like, oh, this sounds so cool. And I'm like, sword skill in like a non-Saint style sounds so fun. So this is my idea of him. I don't think I've seen too many people talk about it. I've seen people mention sword skill, but nobody mentioned like MPPV red. At least as of the time that I've uploaded this. But again, set drops 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks from when I'm releasing this video. So something to consider. Take this all with some scrutiny. This is just an initial list that I made. I made it in about 10 minutes before this video, right before this video, that I just kind of had the base package down. After doing some thinking the last few days, or the last couple days since he got released. So, but I really like him. I think this is really going to be interesting. I'd like to go play this on Octagon, and I might go do that. Get some testing in, get some ideas. Maybe this deck isn't as good. Maybe this deck is still like a tier 3 anger deck compared to like decks like Goten and stuff. I don't think this is by any means a competitive tier 1 deck, but it's going to definitely be, I think, something that could be really fun. So, but yeah, actually, I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to cut this Meal Kick down to 2 and 2 driving knee for now. Something to try. But alrighty, guys. Hopefully you enjoy. I will be doing some more videos when set drops at the end of August here. I've just been busy with work, and I also don't. I've been kind of on a little bit of bit of a break from the game. There's just not a lot that's been too interesting from this last set. I played a lot of everything, but this new set's looking really interesting. These new masteries are looking stellar. I think they're all right where they need to be in terms of power level and everything, at least as far as previous season goes. So we'll see how everything turns out. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed. Take it easy in peace.